You would prefer to do this as a separate bill rather than maybe through like the transportation budget or something that's already kind of moving through the process and it's further along?
Well, you know, there are multiple strategies that can be used. Our approach is that we think that it's best to bring it in a separate bill at this point because it highlights what we're trying to accomplish and raises the level of interest in the issue.
And I would just add that there's nothing that prohibits us from offering an amendment as well as the budget goes through the process, the transportation budget, that we might use that as another strategy. But the goal is to get it done. And so introducing the bill focuses the attention on this issue and the lack of consistency throughout the state of Ohio. And as we said, there are other strategies that we can and probably will use.
Senator, do we have a number of how many young people this affects?
My understanding is, Senator?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
Okay, my understanding is that nationwide it's 400,000 people. In the state of Ohio, right now, it's 1,500 people.
Have either of you senators had direct contact with BMV to get any explanation or update on where they are on this issue?
I have not had direct contact since it was shared that each Bureau of Motor Vehicles could do what they believe was best. We believe as a state that there should be consistency, uniformity, so that all of our residents are treated the same. It should not be the actions of individual counties that decide whether their constituents can get a license or not. And so the state Bureau of Motor Vehicles should have consistent rules and policies. That's why this is being introduced.
Given that you feel that DMV is disregarding federal law, isn't litigation maybe a better way to approach this?
No, we like this bill. Like you guys are trying to talk us out of it. No, and we think this is the best way to go. We're acting in our legislative process. Now, Mr. Mendez, if he chooses to file a lawsuit, I mean, that's up to him, but we're legislators, so it's best for us to introduce legislation. Well, one other thing I want to say is before introducing this bill, I had a meeting with a group of individuals who are related to the agricultural industry in Ohio. And they were concerned about this issue because they want to make sure that people are licensed to drive throughout the state of Ohio. So this has a real impact on certain businesses and certain industries across our state. And so that's another reason why the legislature needs to step forward and say something on this particular issue.
What do you make of this? I mean, does this smell of politics to you, or what do you read into the way the BMV's behavior?
Sometimes good people make mistakes, and I'm sure that once this bill is introduced, or after Senator Tavares and I have a number of discussions throughout Capitol Square, that people will change their approach.
Mr. Tavares, 33 other states, 34 other states have figured this out and have programs that do this. Talk about that.
Well, the other states have taken the approach that's best for their states, and what we see is a pattern of states understanding that this is important to the youth that they are trying to serve, as well as to their state as a whole. Those 34 states recognize that federal guidelines are just that. They're guidelines, and then the state should implement the policy, and in this case we're saying a law, since the Bureau of Motor Vehicles isn't abiding by the federal standards, the standards that all 50 states should apply, then we are introducing this bill. Other states have probably done it through rules within their departments of transportation, and in this case, the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. But we believe if they're not going to do it, we have to step up, speak up, and act on behalf of our constituents. and in this case, those 1,500 young people.
Senator, just to make sure that I get the terminology correct, young people who qualify for deferred action, is that still technically illegal immigrant, or is that term not accurate to the young people who qualify?
It's not accurate. It's not accurate at all. These are some of the criteria. Under the age of 31 as of June 15th, 2012, you came to the United States prior to your 16th birthday. That means your parents brought you to the United States. Continuously resided in the U.S. since June 15th, 2007 to the present time. Entered without inspection before June 15th, 2012, or lawful immigration status expired as of June 15th, 2012. Currently in school, have graduated or obtained a GED, or are an honorably discharged veteran of the Armed Forces or Coast Guard. So some people impacted by this have served our country and yet can't get a driver's license. That's some irony there. Have not been convicted of a felony or significant misdemeanor and do not pose a threat to national security or public safety, and you must pay an application fee of $465.
And again, these are young people who were brought here through no actions of their own. They're abiding by the desires of their parents, so they shouldn't be penalized.
Senator Kearney, have you spoken about this issue with Senate leadership? What kind of reception are you getting? I know you said Senator Lander's on board, but
right. President Faber and I have not had our weekly meeting yet, so that occurs on Wednesdays. So I have, to answer your question directly, I have not, but will at our next meeting.
In some states, the license that is issued looks different than the actual license that I would get. What do you think about that? Should we do it that way, or differentiate, or do you care? You just want them to get licenses?
If I had my rathers, it would be consistent. Our driver's license would be consistent with the age. We have different licenses for those who are underage, those who have a permit versus those who have a license. And because we have different rules for youth under the age of 18, their license look different from adults over the age of 18. So I would want consistency. I wouldn't want anything that provided any kind of stigma or discriminatory practice.
Mr. Mendez, could you describe it?
So I actually do have a state ID. On January 22nd, I went to my local office on East 55th Street. And at that BMV, I presented my work permit and my social security card and proof of residency. And I was granted a state ID. That same day, I wanted to get my temporary license, but the BMV at that location didn't have the computers where you could take your written test. So they told me to go to the Parma office, a different location. So a couple hours later, my dad drove me to the Parma office. When I got there, I took my test, I passed it. They told me, okay, you passed it, now we will issue you your temporary license. So I was waiting in line. I handed my documents, my work permit, my social security number. They went in the back. The manager talked to someone in Columbus. And at that moment, that's when she came back. She holded my documents. She would not give them back until I called my lawyer for them. And at that moment, she told me that I didn't belong here, that my ID was not valid, that I should get a refund for it, and basically she made me feel really discriminated against, and until now, I'm not able to get my temporary license. I have my state ID that's valid until my work permit expires, and then I can renew it. I can renew my work permit. I can't renew my ID anymore. And that's what happened when I tried to get my license.
Any thoughts to suing her or suing the DMV over this?
I did talk to one of the administrators. Her name is Kimberly Doker. She called me up actually. One day I was working and she called me and I was like, is this Mr. Mendez? And I said yes, and she's like, we're calling you on behalf of the VMV and about your issue about the driver's license issue. And I'm like, I explained to her what happened at the department office, and she said that they were going to file a complaint. Until now, I haven't heard what has she done about it. After that situation was me being denied driver's license, that's when I started contacting several senators at the state legislature to help me out, and I did get some help.
How long has this been going on? When did that happen?
Since January 20. This happened to me January 22nd. I was informed that before they told me at the department office that it was a new policy that it was implemented January 17, 2013. But I did call BMV offices, spoke to administrators, and they told me that the law and policies have not changed for a couple years now, and that I should be able to get a driver's license, but it keeps constantly, you go and then they just deny you and they won't issue you one.